welcome back to the channel today, guys. And as you can see, we are back in our home base today, and it feels nice, you know? But I will say, being in that other place the other day has really made me think, we gotta spruce this place up a bit soon. I gotta add a little pizzazz, a little bit of oomph, you know, to this room a bit. Really make it nice for you guys and for me. Because yeah, I got my little inspirational poster behind me, but it ain't enough. But anyway, we're here to talk about, funny enough, Danmachi Season 4 again. Now, when I made my last video on this show, I even said in the video, it's up to you guys to determine whether I do this show weekly or not. Because I very much like this series. I just wanted to know that there were people that would want to watch it. And there are. And that makes me very happy because I love this series, actually. That one I did read a comment in the comments, actually, saying how this series is incredibly underrated. And I completely agree. I really do. This series is so beyond underrated. It is honestly a very good series. I feel like people just overlook because of the harem-esque elements in it. But anyway, that's enough talking. Let's get into episode 2 of Danmachi Season 4 today. So our episode begins immediately where our last one left off, actually, with our Team Hestia. That's what we're going to call them from now on to avoid confusion. We're going to call them Team Hestia. With Team Hestia cleaning up the rest of those monsters and setting up base camp on the 24th floor, which happens to be a very lush, dense jungle by the looks of it. Now, they're going around destroying the environment a bit, because if they do that, the dungeon itself will create, or will spend all its time repairing itself instead of sending monsters. And this is one of the reasons I think this show is actually very good, because a lot of people forget that the dungeon itself is basically a character in this series. That the dungeon itself is an entity, you know? That it's alive, that it's breathing. Last season, I think, really showcased that a lot. And this season, I already feel like we're really going to dive more into that. And I find that incredibly interesting. So they're setting up base camp, and everyone here is starting to realize just how much Bell has grown. He has grown exponentially since Season 1, guys. It is kind of crazy. Like, I don't want to talk too much about Bell, but he is definitely coming to his own as a character. So we'll leave it at that for now. But everyone's sitting here praising him, saying, wow, you've grown so much. Like, what has happened to you? And as they're setting up the tent, he actually has a talk with Haruhime, who sees him and says, you know, Bell, I was kind of worried about you after the incident with the Xenos in our previous season. Because that really shook our series to its core, actually. Really uprooting a lot of the stuff that happened. That monsters are sentient, that they are intelligent creatures and not just mindless beasts. And she tells him that, I didn't know if you'd be able to fight monsters again after that. And it's here that Bell really decides that, you know, I may be called a hypocrite for fighting these monsters to save the Xenos. People might even vilify me a bit, but it's something I think I have to do. And it's so very true, though. Like, it's a really tough conundrum, you know? You want to save the monsters, but to do that, you have to kill and defeat monsters to get deeper into the dungeon. It really is a predicament that they find themselves in. And I love that this series is starting to tackle a little bit more serious themes in it. I think that's very good for our series as a whole, moving forward. And it's here that we transition to Aisha, actually, kind of confirming what I've been saying even more so, about how Bell isn't just raising the morale of the team by being there. He's pulling everyone along, making sure that they're all had the same commitment, the same goal, the same aspirations. And that helps them to get stronger as a whole, as a group. And she says that he is already basically a hero with how he conducts himself, how he's seen by people. And that does put a smile on my face. going back to the beginning, because like I said, I know how this kid used to be, and he's grown exponentially. But I have to admit, going through these scenes and watching this episode, I really can't help but think like, oh man, this is definitely the calm before the storm. Like, everything's going a little too smoothly in this episode right now, you know? And we'll talk a little bit more about that towards the end of our video. But yeah, this definitely feels like the calm before the storm, for sure. And I feel like that conversation gets amplified by the fact that Daphne and Lily actually have a conversation with each other. Because in our previous episode, she taught Lily how to be like the commander of the group, you know, how to take hold and kind of lead in situations, to stay in the back and give orders. And she says, you know, I thought you were perfect for this, so that's why I taught you. But you got to understand, we're about to go into the middle segment of the dungeon. This is unprecedented territory for most of us here. It is a way different beast down there. It will really show you how cruel and unrelenting it is. So you have to be prepared to be ruthless and make heartless decisions in the heat of the moment. You have to be prepared for the worst case scenarios. And that transitions actually to the conversation that Belle has with Aisha that night as well, where they're on the cusp of going to the 25th floor. They are directly in front of the doorway that leads to, and she asks him, like, are you really prepared for this, Belle? Like, I don't think you understand how different this is going to be. How cruel and relentless the dungeon can truly be once you get to the middle and lower floors. Are you really okay to do this? Like, are you ready for this? And, of course, Belle's scared. Who wouldn't be scared in this situation when people talk it up this much? But he gets his resolve and he decides, yes, I'm ready to go down there. We will do it. We will do it together. We're a team. Together we can do this. And so they do. So the next day, we transition over to the first of the middle floors. The Great Waterfall, actually. Which, it's very beautiful. That's why I like this series, guys. The dungeon is such like a cool, interesting concept. You can have so many vastly different places in this one area. You can have a lush, dense jungle in one area. You could have a literal town in another area. And then you can have these beautiful, giant waterfalls in another area inside of a cave. It's just, the dungeon itself is just such an interesting character to the series on its own. And it's here in our beautiful waterfall section of the dungeon that Aisha warns that, yes, this place is very beautiful, but it's also incredibly dangerous. Not only are the waters, like, filled with monsters, there are monsters that can jump out anywhere. If you fall down into the water in this segment, you are done. The rapids are not only strong, but they are filled to the brim with monsters. If you float in it too long, you will be as good as dead like that. Plus, there's these huge cliffs in here that I wouldn't want to fall from, tell you that much. And, you know, they're exploring through this area. Everything's going good so far. They beat up some crabs and all that. And we get a little segment where we see some very, like, rare coral, actually, that Welf insists that they should pick up because it can make good material for weapons. So, Belle and Haruhime, not Haruhime, so Belle actually goes over there and gets some of the coral. He goes over there with Makoto, my bad. And as they're coming back from getting the coral, you know, everything's going good. And this is when a monster comes crashing through the ceiling. And I'm like, oh, damn, is this where everything starts going bad? But no, actually, in this scene, we get to see that other people besides Belle in our party have grown too. I'd argue Makoto is the one that handled that monster in that situation. And it really shows that not just Belle has been growing in our party. Really showcasing that everyone is taking this incredibly seriously. And that's a good thing. Because our last little segment of the episode is them about to head back, actually. Because there's no point in fully exploring the area on the first day. This is an expedition. It's not a day trip, after all. They have plenty of time. So right before they go back, actually, they get greeted by the appearance of a character we saw in our last episode, actually, Mr. Luvis, who is a fellow adventurer. And to put it mildly, he is messed up. He's lost an arm, he's limping, he is very badly hurt. And our whole group is on guard from this situation, as you would be, because right behind him is this new monster that we actually have not seen before. And it's pretty creepy looking, I'll be honest. If I saw this guy walking down the street at me, I'd probably turn the other way. But no, Belle and him start fighting, and this creature's actually putting up a hell of a good fight, you know? I'd argue he's getting the better of Belle in this situation. He's reading all his movements and really keeping up with him. And as they're fighting, this creature actually produces some weird spikes out of its body that Luvis actually screams at them that no matter what, do not let that hit you. So everyone takes cover and prepares to defend against this, but unfortunately Chigusa gets hit by it. And we see this tentacle, not really tentacle, kind of like a vine-like moss, I guess you could say, growing out of the wound, actually, that looks very parasitic. And Cassandra even says in this instance, like, this is the moss that I had my premonitions about. This is what I've been so worried about, was this moss. And our episode ends with her and Luvis actually growing this moss out of them. And I gotta say, guys, I didn't expect things to go wrong this quickly, but we're moving pretty quick for things going wrong. There is no way that this expedition goes without someone getting hurt. I really feel like someone's gonna die in this, actually. I feel like they're really setting that up. I just can't help but feel that way, like, nah, something's gonna go wrong, like, really badly wrong. I get that feeling in, like, the pit of my stomach watching this. And what's the deal with that parasitic creature, you know? Are they gonna have to cut her arm off? That'd be kind of crazy. But you guys let me know what you thought of this episode, you know? This episode was really focused on the dungeon, and I actually like that. I think that's really cool, because like I said, the dungeon is a character in and of itself in this show. It's one of the things I like the most about this series, actually, is that they take so much time and care into the dungeon itself. And the details of them are fantastic. So you guys let me know what you thought of this episode down below. You know, I do believe Danmachi is a very underrated series because people just focus on the harem elements and don't focus on that it has really good world building. It's got good development between its characters, so on and so forth. So you let me know how you feel down below. But that'll be it for today's episode, guys. You know, I hope you enjoyed. Like I said, I do like this series, so as long as you guys keep liking the videos, I'll definitely keep doing reviews for the show. It would be my pleasure. But until next time, guys, I hope you have a great day, week, month, and year. And until then, just deuces, have a blessed day, and don't get attacked by a parasitic creature. That'd be a no-no. I'll see you guys next time.